Hi, everyone. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U. And today we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about Chinatown. But I also want to introduce you to thriller number 99. This is actually an important time in our lives. We have done 98 of these thriller programs. And so part of what I'm doing here is we're going to upgrade this, take it to a whole new level, and give you guys some special things that we've never done before. But let's jump into this. Today we're going to be talking about how to write the next Chinatown or whatever thriller you would like to write, whichever works for you best. Uh, we'll start with the purpose of a thriller. We'll go into the 5 keys of great thrillers. As I'm doing that, I'll be analyzing Chinatown for you. So we'll be looking at how Chinatown met those 5 keys, and it's actually part of what made it absolutely great. Uh, I'll show you how to create a thriller map, which is the biggest and most important thing you can have with a thriller. Thriller is the only genre that needs a map. And you'll see once we get into this, you'll see why. But it's like a lot of times people get into a thriller, they start writing at the beginning, and somewhere in the middle, it either gets too confusing or they run out. And part of the reason why is because they didn't create a thriller map in the beginning. This has been a problem not just with writers who are trying to break in, but even pros have had difficulties with thrillers because they were missing that one step. Uh, and then we'll talk about the upcoming class, Mastering the Thriller Genre, which I'll introduce you to a few things that we're doing that's new for this one time only. So let's jump into this. Purpose of a thriller is to keep the audience on the edge of their seat. This is critically important. Audiences expect this. If you don't keep them on the edge of their seat, they're going to walk out and say that wasn't thrilling. With high stakes, plot twist, and suspense that never lets up until the adrenaline-packed climax. So if you look at whatever you're writing right now, that should be a way to define it. You should be able to very, very clearly say, yes, it will do every single one of these things all the way to the very end. If you've got that, you're going to be a star. If you don't have that, it's a letdown. And in fact, let me tell you a quick story here. Uh, there was a movie that came out called The American. It had George Clooney in it. Chances are you probably never saw it. Let me tell you what happened on this. Uh, Cheryl says to me on Thursday night, hey, there's a new George Clooney movie coming out. And so we were going to go see it. I had something happen that night. I can't remember what it was, but it took us almost the whole weekend to solve it. And so we didn't get a chance to see it. Monday morning, I'm talking with this producer, and I said, hey, I was looking forward to seeing this George Clooney movie, but I see that audiences are just trashing it. And he goes, oh, yeah, that's because of the way it was marketed. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, it was marketed as a thriller. And what it really is a character drama with thriller elements. And I was like, oh. He says, so if you go watch it as a character drama, you'll love it. But if you watch it as a thriller, you will be absolutely disappointed. Now, why I'm saying that again, and by the way, I went and watched it. I went in at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday, the next day, and went in and sat down in a theater all by myself. Nobody else was in the theater. It had been trashed so badly. They must have lost a ton of money on that movie. But as a character drama, it was great. If I would have gone in to see it as a thriller, it would have missed so many of the things that belong in thrillers. So if you're thinking about writing a thriller, don't write a drama with thriller elements. Write a real thriller because that's what your audience is going to expect. So how do we do that? Let's start by looking at Chinatown, the intriguing concept of Chinatown. So it started with a concept that was interesting. A narcissist millionaire covertly steals billions of dollars of land just north of Los Angeles from the farmers that he puts out of business. So he's got a covert plan from the beginning, and he ends up making billions off of that, but he also ends up basically putting out everybody in the valley out of business. And this was based on a true story. This is based on the water wars of, I can't remember what it was, like 1919 to 23 or something like that. So interesting already, right? Then we go to this. This is one of some of the conventions. You need mystery, intrigue, and suspense all the way through your story. So, starting with mystery. A mystery is the secret question or puzzle that must be solved for the hero to survive. I want you to notice a couple of things. We've got this part, secret question or puzzle, but just notice the last part, it must be solved to survive. As in, you are going to set up the stakes in such a way that your audience feels they have to solve this to help this, this hero who's on the screen. The more engaged they are in solving it, the better your story's going to be. So the opening mystery sucks the hero in. You'll see this when I get to Chinatown. And it sucks them in at the very beginning and then into the main mysteries of the story. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. Then there's intrigue. Intrigue, the covert, underhand, or clandestine force or plan of the villain. So you may look and go, well, intrigue isn't just about a plan. If you do it the way we're talking about, yeah, the villain's plan has essentially disrupts the lives of most of the people who are involved in the story. It's covert, it's underhanded. We can't tell what the hell it is or what's going on in some cases. But when you do this, the big thing you want to make sure is you never create the experience of confusion. You need to create the experience of intrigue instead. So we are always intrigued. It starts from the villain's plan, right? And when you're writing it, you want to start it from the villain's plan rather than the hero's plight. Most people, the reason they have a problem, one of the reasons they have a problem writing a thriller is because they're starting with the hero, right? Which is how you do it in every other genre. Every other genre starts with the hero. But if you look at these movies, the thrillers, you'll find out that they started long before the story you're seeing. The villain's plan has been intact, and really the hero stepped into it. That's important. And now we're seeing the hero's plight, but the writer knew the villain's plan the entire time. So the villain, in this case, is the writer of the hero's demise. So, and then C, you need suspense. And suspense means there's escalating danger that the hero must survive. Now, let's pause for a second. I've had people before go, well, what if I don't really want to put my hero in danger? And it's like, okay, well, then again, you probably are writing a drama or some other genre. Come join us and play around with this, right? Just step into the thriller world and ask yourself, what if I really honored these three? That's what'll keep us on the edge of our seats, right? And this is, even if you've written some kind of drama, it's like, okay, that's kind of the story of the hero and what they're going through emotionally and that kind of thing. Now build this in so that from start to finish, you have your audience in the palm of your hand. They are constantly worried. They are constantly wondering. They're constantly trying to solve this for your hero and see what that does for your story. You may be completely blown away. So let's go to Chinatown here. So there are four mysteries in this movie. It starts with the fake Miss Mulroy. And what happens here is we've got Jake. He's a detective. He's actually a private investigator, is what he is. And he has this new client come in. And this is the stuff that's right down his alley. He's been spending his time helping women investigate their husbands and things like that. He considers it to be, kind of a cush job that he enjoys, and at the same time makes him plenty of money. The fake Miss Mulray comes in, presents this thing. She thinks her husband's cheating on her, and he's doing it with this one woman. They find the husband and the woman at a hotel room. They take the pictures, and it shows up in the newspaper the next day. Now, we're at that point still with this. But what's going to happen very quickly is we're going to find out that the guy, the husband, was the head of the water commission or whatever it's called, and uh, and the pictures they just took are going to get him fired if he doesn't do what the villain wants. So, so that takes us to the water conspiracy. And I got to tell you, when I was watching this the first time, which was, geez, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, I was like, well, why are we focused on the water? What does that matter? But actually, that then takes us to the other conspiracy, which is even bigger, which is Noah Cross is putting all the farmers out of business so he can buy their land on 1/10 the price, 10 cents on a dollar. So this water conspiracy is incredibly important to his scheme that's going on under the surface. Now, by the way, the whole time these two mysteries are playing out, we have no idea what the real scheme is yet. Uh, then, after the real Mr. Mulray gets killed, we end up meeting Evelyn, who is the real Mrs. Mulray, and she's behaving very strangely. Something weird is going on with her. We've got our investigator, our private investigator, continually sensing that there's something up here that doesn't make sense. He knows, he can tell, he smells it. And he's looking for what it is. And part of it is this stuff. Part of it is, why would somebody send a fake lady in to hire him? Why did the pictures show up the next day in the newspaper? What's up with the water thing? And by the way, Mr. Mulray got murdered. So, and in the midst of that, his wife is behaving strangely. Why? Which now finally brings us to what the next mystery, which is Noah Cross's sins. And I'm labeling it that way. It's a whole bunch of stuff. It starts with basically he's taken control of the valley. He's putting these people out of business. There's all kinds of weird business things going on around it. His daughter is acting strange. That's Evelyn. And then we find out some other things that go way beyond that. And, we find out that her daughter is actually also his daughter. So that, but it's like there's four mysteries that are designed to take us to just essentially flow from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And by the time Jake has any idea what's going on, he's already trapped inside this stuff. He's already gone too far. It caught him off guard. He had no idea what was happening here. He, barely had any idea what was happening there. By the time he gets to Evelyn, he's already in too far. And by the end, there's nothing he can do. except stand and watch Evelyn die. So, um, the intrigue, the intrigue of the story is all based around this covert lab or land grab. And the water manipulation is just part of the covert land grab. We've got this millionaire who will become a billionaire, uh, who has set this up 10 years before. Our guy has stepped into it not knowing what he's doing. And it's just, we don't even understand that this is happening until we meet Noah Cross about halfway through the movie. And that happens often in a thriller. You may see the villain early on, not knowing that they're the villain, and then about halfway through, we find out that they're deep into it and they're the one orchestrating. And now then we actually discover their real plan. So, and then that brings us to the suspense. Geddes, Jake, is repeatedly warned to stop digging into the case, right? Why are police officers warning him? Why are other people telling him not to do this? That's weird. That hasn't happened to him before. The more he investigates, the more dangerous it becomes, leading to murder, deception, and personal peril. Now, if you just look at just the things we just talked about, it's really clear this is a thriller. And this is what you want. You want to be able to, like, if you sit down in front of a producer and they ask you, tell me about your story, and all you said was what I just delivered. All you did was tell us the mystery, intrigue, and suspense. They're very likely going to be saying yes, because you just gave them something that they know will thrill thriller audiences. And that's the job, right? So, okay. So now we go to the thriller conventions. And for people who don't really spend time thinking about conventions, these are incredibly important because they're the expectations of the audience and the distributors. And for this, I've interviewed, I don't know, 4 major distributors. But I was talking to this one distributor in Los Angeles. And actually, what had happened was my daughter was doing a high school project. This was for her graduation. It was her senior year project. And so I took her around and introduced her to a bunch of producers, and we videotaped her interviews with the producers. This was one of the people we interviewed. We wanted to interview all sides. So we talked to directors, we talked to producers, we talked to some studio people, and this was our distributor. And she got, of course, an A+ on the project. But we're in the middle of interviewing him, and he said, I want to tell you a bug that's up my ass. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that means, but fine. He goes, it's genre conventions. He said, I have at least 100 to 150 independent films sent to me every year that don't match the genre conventions, and I can't sell it because of that. Now that's somebody who's turning down films that are already done. They've already been shot. They've already spent the money on it. They're mostly by indie producers and directors who didn't understand conventions. So don't feel bad if this is new to you, but if it is, pay close attention because your audience is going to expect it. Go back to the movie The American. They gave in the pitch, in the trailer, they gave the conventions of a thriller, and all they did was they picked scenes that in the very beginning and the very end. They didn't present it as a drama. Because of that, it didn't bring in the right audience, and it failed. So this is critically important. Think about this. If you go to a thriller and it doesn't thrill you, are you okay with that? And if you just get that, it's like it'll make a difference. So here we go. In the thriller conventions, we already talked about a couple of them, but your hero, in this case, it's the private investigator, must be unwitting. Unwitting doesn't mean that they're not smart. It means they were caught off guard, right? And if you look at Born Identity, he's unwitting. He has no idea who he is. He can't figure out where he's going even. He doesn't know what's happening. He is so unwitting, it's unbelievable. Jake also is unwitting. He was caught off guard. He's been scammed into getting the pictures of Catherine. He has no idea what's going on. Has no idea this is Mulray's daughter, and it has absolutely no idea this is the illegitimate child of Noah Cross. Right? So this is all stuff he doesn't know. He is stepping into a world he doesn't know what's happening at almost any point along the way. Right? And that has us as an audience go on this journey with him. Now then, second, there's the other part. He's resourceful. And this is the difference between, like, if you're doing a drama, there's some action movies that you could do where the character isn't that resourceful, although not very many. But there are a lot of dramas that are that way. But he is resourceful. Your hero is unwitting but resourceful. So he's a capable detective with the connections to investigate. He can actually do this. He knows what he's doing. He can tell when something's wrong. He is really good at it. And that's what you need. You need a hero that's unwitting so the audience will connect with them and feel for them. And also so that they're constantly being surprised. But they're resourceful so they can deal with it. They're not a fish out of water in that area. So our villain, the opposite, is Noah Cross. And this is important also. You need a villain's plan that makes it difficult for the hero to survive. And really, for anybody who steps in it to survive. That's what happened with Mr. Mulray, Hollis Mulray. He didn't go along with the villain's plan. He didn't survive. So the villain needs to be dangerous. And in this case, it's clear he is. He raped his daughter. He kills Hollis Mulray. He has Ida Sessions killed also. They're devious. He's scheming the farmers, the city planners, pretty much everyone. And they're unrelenting. He's motivated by billions of dollars in profit and the need to cover up his crimes. He will never stop. So if you have that in your villain, right, you've got somebody pretty cool. And I guess the only other thing I would say is they need to at least look innocent at some point, or some people think that they're innocent, right? When you think of modern day villains, there's always people that believe in them. There's always people that think they're good people and things like that. But they've got this stuff going on like crazy. So, okay. And then we have another character, which is our red herring character. And this is part of thrillers. I think it's, as long as I can remember, it's been part of thrillers. Your red herring character, this is Evelyn Mulray in the movie, right? This is the person who becomes the primary suspect, drawing attention away from the real villain. So we have Jake meets Evelyn Mulray. This should be a grieving widow who is upset. She shouldn't be trying to cover up anything, but she is. And so she's the suspect. She's the wife of Hollis. She's also the daughter of Noah Cross. So I think this is the point where it brings Noah Cross in. When after Jake starts investigating Evelyn, in the beginning, he's just interviewing her, but she just comes across as too nervous, too strange, too different than he thought she would be in that situation. Her possible crime, he believes she killed her husband, right? And he thinks she kidnapped Catherine. So she does have Catherine. And so he's positive she's kidnapped Catherine. not knowing what's really going on with this situation. And the big reveal that happens about two-thirds of the way through, she's Catherine's mother, sister, mother, sister, right? They go back and forth. It's like it's quite an interrogation. And then we find out that she's actually both of those. She's the mother and the sister because both of them were victims of Noah Cross. So that was quite a twist, and something we didn't see coming way back then. So the other conventions, you need high stakes that are worth killing for. And sometimes I see people write thrillers and then they give us low stakes, and it's like, really? I don't think somebody would, you know, go on a murder spree over that. I don't think somebody would ruin their reputation over something small. It needs to be something big. And here it is. It's like the entire San Fernando Valley, which is worth billions of dollars. This is a scheme that Noah Cross will kill anyone for. Um, you need either real or symbolic life and death situations, you know, and there are other ways to think about this. You could, if you're for some reason not okay with that, you could essentially set up the situation where there would be catastrophic failure, or the possibility of someone going insane. But you need this level of stakes if you can. And in this case, we have Hollis Mulray who died, Ida Sessions who died in the situation, the safety of Catherine. We have the farmers losing their livelihood, and Evelyn ultimately dying. And that didn't seem to bother Noah Cross. He just wanted the girl. And it's like, wow. This is another thing that's really important. You need to be able to answer this question. This movie is thrilling because, now here's my answer. It has an intense conspiracy and scheme presented through a series of mysteries with surprising reveals. And that's me saying, here's how the script is basically written. You could answer it in another way, that you could go through some of the specifics, but on Chinatown, I would say it's a little too complex for me to try to explain the four mysteries there or those kinds of things. Now, having said that, if you can't answer this question in a way that points to something that they would go, oh my God, if that's it, I can sell it. If you can't do that, you're in trouble. And by the way, here's where this question came from. 15 years ago, Cheryl and I were pitching a thriller. And I probably I got into about 25 meetings. I had three different producers ask me this question. It was in the same day. We were driving from location to location. By the third one, I had figured it out what it was. It wasn't out of the 20 producers we pitched, only three asked me the question. But it's become much more common since then. So you need to be able to answer that question, which means you need to have something thrilling. Because if you say this movie is thrilling because we get to go on the internal journey with the character, that's a drama. If you don't have something truly thrilling, they're not going to think it's a thriller, and they're going to think it's difficult to sell. So keep that in mind. Now, this is key number 3. Start with the villain's covert plan. And this will save you from that experience I was talking about. I have had 20 writers over the last 10 years who have said, I was writing a thriller and I just never could get through it. I just never could figure out what to do when I was coming to the final act and those kinds of things. And it's like, for a while, I was like, wow, that's weird. That's about the third or fourth or fifth or sixth or seventh person that's told me that. Then I started asking them, what's the villain's plan? And they would say, well, I'm focused more on the protagonist right now. And it's like, right, what's the villain's plan? Because if you don't have that, you're going to be in trouble about halfway through the movie. And then it turns into a drama, because the only character that you've got down is that the hero. The villain's plan is incredibly important because this is what the hero's up against, what the audience is up against, and what will keep us on the edge of our seat. So know this, long before the movie started, the villain had already formed their plan, and it is in full action at the point that the protagonist and the hero step into it. If you know that, right, you're in great shape. Like if you look at Noah Cross has already bought up at the point at which this movie starts. He's already bought up half the valley. He's been doing this for 10 years, and nobody has noticed it, or if they have, they've been long dead. So here's what his plan was. This is what his plan was from early on. Take control of the water department. And what had happened, and what we found out from Hollis basically was that Noah had been doing this, and Hollis was investigating it inside the water department and trying to stop the water flow and the water diversion. So take control of the water department, divert the water from the valley to put farmers out of business. So that's been going on. Hollis was about to stop that. Therefore, he got taken out. And the objective was to buy the land at 1/10 of its value. Now, there were a lot of other things going on. He also set up multiple covers for his activities. If you look at it, almost every one of the mysteries, there was some cover up going on because of in those mysteries. So he's designed in all kinds of covers. Until Hollis did his investigation, nobody really knew what was going on, and nobody wondered about the water that was being diverted. And then also he had created a bunch of accounts at a retirement home to cover the funding. That was brilliant. It was surprising. It was another mystery that happened in the midst of it. It wasn't the primary mystery, so I left it out. But it's like, why are all these people in a retirement home, why do they have so much money in their accounts? And why is it showing up on a regular basis and being withdrawn? What is going on in that situation? And it turned out that was part of this whole scheme. So we've got an intricate scheme that is hidden from us, that has a whole series of cover-ups built into it. And it's all part of this villain's plan to make billions of dollars profiting from the loss of everyone else. Pretty amazing plan. So if you've got a really strong villain's covert plan that is something that's going to be revealed one little tiny step at a time, and they're going to have to fight every step to reveal it, and every time it's revealed, it surprises us, you're in business. If you've got that, if you can just create an amazing villain's covert plan, you have such a much better chance of success with a thriller. Now, a couple of other things. Trust and betrayal. There's a bunch of places in a thriller where you get emotional juice. But this is one of them. And this is one that I think a lot of times people don't think about. Most of the time you're thinking about the life and death stakes and the surprise of finding the villain's plan and things like that, which is all legitimate and important. But trust and betrayal gives us a deeper level of emotions for your hero and your audience. So your hero is thrust into a world of intrigue, covert activity, and a devious villain. And please keep this in mind. It's like, this isn't where they wanted to go. This isn't what's going on. They're caught off guard just like us. Once they're in this world, it's just absolutely natural. Intrigue, covert activity, devious villain. It is absolutely natural to have players who are not trustable. I hope that makes sense, right? So your job is to start looking at those players. Your hero has been like stepped into this by mistake or got drawn into it as just a tiny player, which is what happened to Jake. Uh, and there are people that they trust and people they don't trust. So instead of asking that question, which you can ask that question, who do they trust? Who do they not trust? I'm asking this. Who does Jake trust that he shouldn't? Because this automatically sets up the possibility of betrayal, right? So in this case, he trusts the fake Miss Mulray. He completely bought in, right? He believed her. He felt for her. She cried in front of him. When he started investigating her husband, he found him at a hotel with a woman, right? It's like he completely bought in until the story shows up in the newspaper the next morning. Which, in today's world of internet stuff and social media, it could show up in 10 minutes. But back then, for it to show up the next morning means everything had to be a rush job. That means they had to go out of their way to make that happen. So, you know, the fake Mrs. Mulray tricked him. He was betrayed by her. The other thing is there's police that he's worked with multiple times, other detectives and that kind of thing, that he thinks are kind of friends, that he thinks are going to tell him the truth. And they betray him also. So this is early on. This is still in the first mystery. And we've already got him being betrayed, him being tricked, him being sent down roads that absolutely have nothing to do with reality whatsoever. That's going to suck us in as an audience. We want to help him solve his problem. Then the question is, who does Jake not trust that he should? And here we have Evelyn Mulray, a couple of other people, but Evelyn Mulray is the main one. He doesn't trust her from early on. See, part of it is she's got the same name as the fake Mrs. Mulray. And she shows up and basically tells him she's going to sue him if he continues what he's doing. And so she's threatening him from the beginning and that kind of thing. He's got reasons not to trust her. Everything having to do with her last name has been a lie to him. So he doesn't trust her, but ultimately in time, he needs to, right? She's a victim also in that situation. And then the other thing to know is if you do this story right, betrayal is inevitable. If you haven't built that in, that's another layer that you can create for your story. All right. Key number 5, create a thriller map. And let me tell you before we go into this. I have had almost every one of those people that came to me and said, I got stuck in the middle of a thriller. I couldn't get through it. I've had other people who have said, I tried writing a thriller and it just didn't work, and that kind of thing. All of them have one thing in common with one of the top thriller writers in this industry. And let me tell you this story, and then it'll make sense. A writer named Joe Esterhaus, who he wrote a whole bunch of thrillers. One of the thrillers he wrote was Basic Instinct, and Basic Instinct was just as complex as Chinatown. So when they go out and do the press junket, Joe Esterhaus is being asked questions, and what they did was they fed the press this one question: how long did it take you to write this script? Now remember, it's a complex script. And Joe Esterhaus answered it honestly. He said, it took me 13 days. Now think about it. Writing any script in 13 days isn't incredible. But writing a thriller, and especially the one that people couldn't figure out, and we're still debating about it 20 years later, And I'm talking Basic Instinct. There are people I have talked with hundreds of writers on the phone where we would get into this whole debate who really was the killer, and they're still talking about it. So Joe Esterhaus, anyway, he says he wrote it in 13 days. That's an incredible feat. So 20 years later, I see an interview with him, and again, they're talking with him about Basic Instinct and all of that kind of thing. Uh, and uh, and they said, "Did you really truly write it in 13 days?" And he goes, "Yes, I did." And then the interviewer says, "You know, uh, was that all? It was just that easy? 13 days?" And Joe said, "Well, I wrote it in 13 days, but it took me 10 years to figure it out." 10 years. Now, let me tell you why Joe Esterhaus didn't figure this out faster than that. It's because he didn't have a thriller map. At that time, nobody had created this. So this is something that we designed, looking at a whole bunch of thrillers. And I had a writer who went through the class. She had never written a thriller in her life. She had written only a couple of romance scripts, so she was doing a thriller for the first time. She said she didn't know if she was going to like this or not, but she thought she'd give it a try. She went through the class. At the end of the class, she had a strong thriller map. She wrote her script in 15 days. So she didn't quite match Joe Esterhaus's world record, but in 15 days, she finished that script, got it to a producer that was a mid-level producer, and he optioned it about a week later. So this stuff makes a big difference. So let me walk you through what a thriller map is. Uh, the thriller map delivers on the concept, right? On the character journeys, uh, and gives real clarity to all 10 levels of a great thriller. So that's important. These 10 layers, if you're missing a bunch of those layers, it's going to start to feel like it's something other than a thriller. So having a well-designed thriller map, here's what it does. It makes your script more professional. It triples the speed of writing and saves you numerous drafts. It's complex, but never confusing. That's also very important. And it shows you as a great writer. So here's our thriller map. And you'll notice we've got this part up here. It may look like a house. What I'm saying is these are most important. Let's start up here. Your thriller conventions. You have to match the thriller conventions. If you're doing two genres, like let's say you're doing an action thriller, uh, you know, absolutely make sure you match the thriller conventions first, then do the action conventions. That way, both audiences are going to love it. But in general, the thriller conventions are almost always the toughest, so do those first. Second, you need mystery, and you need a strong mystery, strong intrigue, and strong suspense. These three need to show up all the way across your script. Again, a lot of the scripts that come in will have, here's what they'll have. They'll have a little bit of this, maybe, not so much, maybe a little bit. And then what it'll be is it'll be drama all the way across. So you don't want to do a drama with thriller conventions. Again, if you have a drama, what I would say, and you want to make it into a thriller, I'd say use the drama as kind of like an early draft, an understanding of the character, and then focus on how to build all of this in a big way. So then underneath that, you need an intriguing world and intriguing characters. So this goes beyond dramatic characters. There's something that's intriguing about them, something that builds mystery, intrigue, and suspense into this story. You need major plot twist on a regular basis. So you got to master this. You need trust and betrayal. We talked about that just a little bit, but it goes further than what we talked about. You need strong reveals. And for, most people have a tendency to write reveals that are mostly a character explaining their backstory. You'll see we'll go along and all of a sudden there's a monologue and the character tells the person why they've done everything they've done. That's the weakest level of reveal you can do. If one character is just telling it to another person, that doesn't have half of the impact of it being something that is shocking or it being some event that just occurred that suddenly you go, oh my God, that's the killer, right? It's like you want this to be more than just a one-on-one dialogue scene. You want it to be so dramatic, so strong, so powerful that that reveal shocks us. Then from there, clue trails. This is what most people focus on when they're thinking about thrillers because they're dealing with mysteries and misdirection. These two, while they're cool, and I've seen people put together intricate stuff down here, if it's missing, starting right here, here, these, especially if it's missing those top five, this isn't going to save you. So you want all of these built together in a way that sequence and that work together in a way that's really, really compelling. Now, let me say a couple other things here. Mastering this thriller map. Here's what it'll do. First, it'll give you complete clarity, right? Once you understand how it all works together, you can build the whole thing and be able to see your story start to finish, see how things are set up, how they're paid off, see how the mysteries evolve into each other, all of those kinds of things with complete clarity. And this is important. If the writer is confused by their story, the audience will be also. And the truth is, unless you're an indie producer or director, that movie will never get made anyway. If the writer is confused, you need, not only does the writer have to have clarity, but also the audience. We'll get to that. You want to make this complex genre easy to write, and that's part of what we're doing here. Is I think we spent like almost a year and a half with a development team trying to figure out how to make the most complex genre there is one of the easiest there is to write. So I think you'll absolutely love this whenever you go through it. You want to be able to cause readers and audiences to obsess over your writing, which, you know, when we look back at Joe Esterhaus and the things that happened with that, it's people were obsessing about it, and they were obsessing about it 20 years after the movie was made. And then being able to create a great thriller map makes you more attractive to producers, agents, and streamers, not just for this project, but for future projects. If you're somebody who has really mastered this, what this means is that you could go meet with a producer, listen to their idea. You know, they came out with it one way, but you can stand back and look and say, how do I put these components together? Build a thriller map, go back to them the next day, and blow them away with it. We have had a ton of writers get paid writing assignments just off their ability to create this. So that makes a big difference. Now, let me show you something else. And this is something I think you'll really like. This here, just a second. Make sure I got this correct. Okay, you guys have all seen ChatGPT. You know, despite all the issues with it, the WGA actually signed a deal with the AMPTP, which is the producers and studios. In that deal, the WGA made sure it said that writers can use AI and that studios can't when it comes to writing. So they protected writers by making sure that studios could not use it, but writers can. So you can use AI to brainstorm. not to write your script. Please don't use AI to write your script. I truly don't believe in that. That takes you out of the picture. In that case, there's nothing that's necessary for you. Uh, you want to be the writer, but you can use it to brainstorm and to be able to make, step out of the box and come up with ideas and create things that people haven't seen before. And that's a big part of what AI can do. It's like again, I would never use AI to write my script, but I'll tell you what I do like is using it to think outside of what I would normally think. It's just like when you think about like having a writing partner or having if you ever use a writing group to give you feedback on your script or to help you brainstorm ideas, this is the same thing. It's just here you have access to it 24 hours a day, anytime. And the other thing is what I love about the way we've set it up with this AI is it's incredibly encouraging of you as you're going through it. So let me show you what I just did. Uh, I have this idea. I'm not saying it's a great idea. I just have this idea. A sci-fi thriller. The subject on it, it's a moon-based prison that collapses into tunnels that were created by aliens. So there's a prison on the moon. Somewhere in there, it collapses. Some part of it collapses, and we find out that there's tunnels there, which means aliens have been to the moon already. So I ask it to create some concepts for me. And the way we've designed this particular prompt is to give us a series of things. Here's the concept. Here's the main conflict, surprising twist, deeper layer, intriguing world, and why is this a thriller? Now, I ask for all of this information. I designed it so that you could get all of that information so that I can look through it and say, is there anything from here I like? Right? And it might be that there's certain things I do like this is obviously what my idea was, but it has a wrongful convicted scientist must survive against the ruthless inmates in order to blah, 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 right? So I can look at this and go, all right, I like part of this. I don't know if it's against the ruthless inmates. I know that's just the standard kind of thing to go to. I do like an unknown extraterrestrial force. Maybe that's what it is. Or maybe there's some kind of mystery down there. So if I like part of this concept, I can take it over to another page and do brainstorming on my own, right? I might look and go, I like the main conflict, but I don't like this twist. So I'll brainstorm other twist. I do like the intriguing world, the way it's written, but I don't like the deeper layer, so I'll brainstorm that. Now, I ask it to give me some concepts. So here's one. Here's a second. With all that information, here's a third. And when you do this, you don't want to go for 20 concepts because with all of this amount of information, that will confuse you and shut you down. I try to do like 2 or 3 at a time and see what I like. And sometimes again, there's a part for this one. Like I still don't like the violent inmates as the primary thing. Uh, a force that warps reality. Maybe I love that, but I want to combine that with this one or something, right? So you get to play with it, see what you think. Pick the one that you like the best. So let's just say that I like this. Now, this, by the way, is what you're going to do pre-joining the class. I'm going to show you. And the reason why is because a lot of times, the reason we created that was because a lot of times people get stuck early on. It's that thing of looking at a blank page and early on the ideas aren't coming to them. So I wanted to make it as easy as possible for you to be able to get a real start on this and to be able to come in and master thrillers. So in this situation, you'll go through, you'll pick whatever concept you like, you'll work with it beforehand, you'll make sure it's what you want, you'll brainstorm as many as necessary to find something that you think is amazing and new and unique. And then from there, then we've got it so that it'll help you create the thriller conventions. And again, these are the things that a lot of times people don't see. Nobody talks about them out in the real world, but audiences absolutely expect them. So here we're having it. I picked the third one. It creates some life and death situations that we could build in. And you may like some of them, you may like all of them, who knows? It created a series of mysteries that we could possibly build in, gave us a hero that is unknowing, unwilling, or unwitting, but resourceful, a villain that is dangerous, devious, and unrelenting. Again, you look through and everything you like, you keep. Anything you don't, you delete and you create on your own. And then it gave us these two things, which I think are really important. What are the main emotions that are going to be built into this and how do those show up? And then this movie is thrilling because. Now, what's happening here is you are using a partner to brainstorm that will give you something that's outside the box that will help you think. My experience of this is once I got over the awe of it, uh, I came up with some amazing ideas working together with it. It's like a way of brainstorming back and forth that the things that it says often trigger me going down complete roads and seeing things I would have never seen before. So it's a tool that if you're even thinking into the future at all, you know, people all over the place are going to be using this. And I know this. I've interviewed a whole bunch of managers in the last couple of weeks. Half of them told me that already their people are using AI to brainstorm. So keeping that in mind, you want to come in with an advantage, and this will give you an advantage. Now, let's go back for a moment, and let me show you what we're doing. So, because this is the other part of this that's going to change things for you. Thriller 99, this one I'm doing some things that are really special and will make a significant difference for you. So let me walk you through just the lessons so you know, and then I'll tell you the big things that we're adding to it. First, you're starting day one, you're going to come in, you're going to bring in the conventions that you just created. I'll give you more details on how the conventions need to stack up, and you'll go through your conventions and elevate them, take them to a new level. Then on day two, you'll be focusing on the big mystery, the intrigue, and suspense. This is a brainstorm session you're going to do by yourself. We're not using AI throughout the rest of this. You'll already know, you'll already have a pretty good idea, but now you're going to make sure you get it down. So I will be giving you the key components of each one of these and exactly how to brainstorm. From there, day three, you'll work with your intriguing world and how to make your characters intriguing, not just dramatic. And if you have intriguing characters, that's just another level at which the audience becomes deeper engaged in your movie. On day four, we're going to give you what we call the stacking suspense model. You haven't seen this anyplace else. This is something that we designed. It will give you the ability to look at any scene, any part of your script, any part of the ultimate movie you're going to create, and build in multiple layers, and build them in a way that creates real, true suspense. Day five, now we're going to go to the villain's plan, and now what we're doing is creating our plot. And again, what you want is you want a true thriller, which means it's going to show up in all the scenes, right? So we're starting with the villain's plan and saying, what is the villain's plan? And then how do you build it all the way across the plot, right? So it's not just something that, oh, you get to halfway through the movie and you go, okay, I wonder what the villain's plan is. You're going to know the villain's plan from before the movie started. You're going to know as much as the villain knows about it so that you can build it in the most interesting and intriguing way. Day six, Now you're going to craft the big mystery sequence. So you figured out the big mystery up here, but here you're going to build it all the way across the plot. How do you set up each one of those mysteries? Which mystery leads into the next, into the next, into the next, and how do they show up in all of your scenes? Then on day 7, now it's about building the life-threatening suspense, again, all the way across your story. So what all of 3 of these do is they bring you to day 8, where you intertwine them into the big mystery, intrigue, and suspense all the way across your entire outline. Now, when you do that, every single scene will have one of these 3 as a major component: mystery, intrigue, or suspense. It will no longer be you have a drama. And I don't have a problem with dramas, but it's important if you're going to write a thriller that when you hand it to a producer or an agent or a manager or even a contest, uh, anyone who reads it just goes, "Oh my God, this is an incredible thriller." These 4 will do that. Now then, from there, now once we have that, now you're going to start building plot twist in. And most people have some ideas of how to build plot twist, but they have a tendency to do the same 3 over and over and over. This will give you multiple different forms of that, and you'll build a whole bunch of them into your plot. Then it's the trust and betrayal. You'll figure out where to build those into your story and build them in. Creating demand for reveals. I told you about this a little bit earlier. This will change your life no matter what genre you're writing in. The ability to create reveals that the audience is blown away by, that doesn't just happen in the moment. It happens in how you set it up, and it happens in how the reveal changes the story. All 3 of those need to be built in, and you'll master this right there. Day 12, now it's about the engaging clue trails. You've already got all of this stuff in here. Now you're going to go through and say, how do I set up some clue trails that ultimately misdirect the audience or direct them in the right direction? And then you'll elevate your map, and now you're prepared to build it into a screenplay. Again, once you have this map that includes all of this, everything all the way back to day 1, all of it's going to be included in your thriller map. Once you have that in a way that is clear and concise and you know what it is, you'll be able to write this screenplay at high speed. Now, let me show you the things that we're going to do that's new. One time only. This is for Thriller 99 only. We won't be doing all of these things in the next ones. So the extras this time only, we're going to do 5 weeks. Every Saturday, I'll be meeting with you live on Zoom, 1 p.m. Pacific time. If you can't make it, don't worry. We'll record it. It'll be posted the next day. But the reason I'm doing this, there's 2 reasons. One is I'm celebrating Thriller 99. I was just excited about that. But the second is because doing the live Zoom meetings means you and I can do Q&A together. So if you have questions that have to do with the model and you're focused on what we're doing, I will be happy to go out of my way to answer them so that you master this model. We have a class I'm doing right now where I've had about 10 people from the class already tell me this was the best learning of the experience of their life as a writer. And the reason why was because we presented a strong model, and then I did Q&A to make sure that you truly master it. We'll also give you a special class on how to write a spy thriller, because there are some things about a spy thriller that's different. So I'll give you all the answers on that in case you have one or you choose to write one later on. And then you'll get AI feedback on every lesson. Now, let me say something on this. I have people going through this class right now as a test behind the scenes, and they've already said that AI feedback has deepened their learning significantly. We essentially trained our own AI that specifically works with the lesson and the exact content you give it. So if you're doing the lesson and it's on creating characters, and you want to make sure they're intriguing. At the end, it'll tell you, here's what you did really well. Here's what it really liked based on what your project is about and who your characters are. And then it'll give you 3 or 4 or 5 ideas for how to make them better, how to make them more intriguing, how to create more mystery around them, how to do the things you need to do for a thriller. And the people that we have going through the test right now are just saying this has made such a significant difference for them. So the normal price on this, oh, by the way, it starts this Saturday. So if you want to write a thriller, right now is the time. You'll have 3-4 days to brainstorm using the AI. That the prompt that we give you, we'll send it to you as soon as you sign up. You have 3 or 4 days to brainstorm. You pick the project you like the best, bring it in. The normal price on this, oh, I'm sorry, I just already said this, Saturday live meetings, 1 p.m. Normal price on this, just a second, is $199 finally. That's what it costs when we don't do any of this stuff. So I'm giving you all of this for free because at this point, I want to get the recordings, and I also want to be able to have this group do something incredible. Right now you can get in for a special. This is for the first 10 people. You get in for $149. It saves you $50. If you're not number, if you're number 11 or 12 or whatever, you'll end up at $199. Even if you pay that price, this class is worth it beyond pretty much any class you've done. For this amount of money, I promise you, you will come out of it saying this made a bigger difference in my writing than almost anything I've ever gone through. So I promise you, you'll enjoy it. The link, here's all you do, just write this down, bit.ly/thriller99. No caps, no spaces, no dashes. Just put that in the browser where you normally put a web address, click return, and come join us. Again, within about 5 minutes or so, you will get the pre-training information, which will include the prompt and instructions on how to go into AI and brainstorm different possible concepts and the conventions of your project. You've got 3 days. I would brainstorm a different project every day. Actually, you got 4 days. Brainstorm a different project every day. Pick the one you like the best. Bring that one in. That's first, it's going to mean very likely you're going to be coming in with a more marketable project. You'll be coming in with something that you love, something that you're going to have fun with. And then you'll get to go through this program discovering so many different, intriguing, and mysterious things about that story, and ultimately writing the best script you've ever written in your lifetime. That's what this program is about. It's why we're doing all this extra stuff for you. So this is, again, this is one time only. If you want to be part of this, write this link down, put it into your browser, and come join us. This, by the way, again, first 10 get this price. Once that ends, it goes to $199. But if you end up at $199, I promise you, you still absolutely will love this program. So can't wait to work with you. Can't wait to hang out with you every Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And I can't wait to hear about the success you have with your project. And ultimately, for those of you who end up making deals or winning contests, I'm looking forward to getting that news also. So thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you got something out of today, but I promise you'll get 50 times that during this program. So with that, this is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U, wishing you the absolute best. Bye-bye, everyone.